And I remember just being like, wait, is that it? That gig was done and nothing changed. Like, no one really came knocking on my door. So we were at the White House. I actually remember being so starstruck by Michelle. And then also there's a pretty exciting kind of back half of the narrative that's also going to happen after this project.
Ladies and gentlemen, welcome to the second episode of Don't Hate the Player, Hate the Fame. My goal on this show is to have conversations about fame with a normal guy and to see how famous of a guest I can get to agree to be on the show. My guest today is a talented musician and songwriter who has over 10 million streams on Spotify. He's headlined sold-out shows, and he's also opened for artists like Johnny Swim. I'm excited for you to get to hear from him, so without further ado, here's Nathan Colberg. Nathan Colberg, thanks so much for being here. Welcome to the show.
Good to be here. Thanks for having me.
Absolutely. So, Nathan, I just want to dive right in and ask you about your journey to becoming a musician and kind of the journey to where you are right now. So, I first met you. You were a high school soccer player. So, if you could just give like a brief summary of how did you go from, pretty typical high school student to now being a full-time musician?
Oh, man. It's a good question. Let's see. It is kind of a funny little journey because I feel like I'm a little bit of a late bloomer to all things music, and especially songwriting. I feel like that came along like much later. But so I've always loved playing the piano. There's like always been a piano in my parents' house and like a keyboard, and I feel like it would just be like I would look up YouTube videos of like my favorite, I don't know, like pop songs and try and like play them on the piano, but they'd be pretty dumbed down versions. And that was like more or less my education when it came to music. But I really enjoyed it. It was always just something I could just do for fun.
Yeah. Were you doing that by ear when you would do that?
Yeah.
Just like picking it out?
Yeah, basically by ear. When I was like maybe 7 or 8, I took like traditional lessons, and so could read like a little bit, but didn't enjoy it. Felt like it was pretty forced, and so quit. However, I did when I was in middle school play the drums, and
Okay.
My family did not like that because we had this drum set in our basement, and I remember I would put Green Day underneath my headphones and just like go to town. I wasn't very good, but man, that was fun. So I feel like it was drums first, then piano, but all kind of alone. Like I didn't really do anything publicly. And college came along and got into singing because I was in Hullabahoo's a cappella group, and so that got me, I feel like, a lot more comfortable being in front of people, particularly singing. And then I feel like kind of all throughout college, a little bit here and there. I don't really remember it, honestly, like what exactly got me writing songs, but started just like enjoying writing songs in my free time. And so come the end of college, the honest story is I was applying to a good amount of jobs and wasn't getting them. And I loved music at the same time, and I just put out a 5-song EP, and so there was a little bit of excitement around that, and it had been kind of a goal of mine to get some of the songs I had written in college recorded. And I wanted to keep doing music, by the way, like in general, but I didn't necessarily want to like double down on it. But when college ended, I didn't have a stereotypical job, and so the kind of goal was to find an alternate route where maybe I could give the time and energy towards music to at least be able to keep creating. And so I feel like since then it's been an eclectic mix of part-time jobs. And yeah, sheesh. And now that's almost 5 years ago now. Is that 5? I think 5 years ago is when I graduated. That was crazy. Yeah, 5 this May. And then having graduated, I remember going, okay, I'm going to give myself a year. And if I have a career on the other side of this year, I'm going to keep going. Which is hilarious in hindsight because I didn't have a career after a year. I don't know. But in that year, I did kind of catch the bug, and I feel like I started to love it more. And I started to go, oh man, like maybe maybe there is a route within songwriting that I can kind of go. And
Yeah.
so I'm still chunking away at it. Like, I'm not full time right now when it comes to my own music. Like,
Okay.
I have all sorts of little kind of part time things, but now my part time things are within music, so that's been kind of nice. But it's not really my own artistry
Sure.
per se. That is my full time gig. Although I want it to be. That's kind of my goal. So.
Yeah. Well, I remember, when you had released Barricade was the first EP, right? And
Mm-hmm.
I remember, everyone was super excited about that. And I don't know. I mean, I imagine that in a kind of a quote unquote non-traditional career where you're not, in an office 9 to 5, that it can kind of sometimes bring up questions of like legitimacy. And I know that you have like an incredible family, super supportive friends. But I saw a quote recently and I wanted to get your thoughts on it. It said something along the lines of like, everyone thinks you're crazy until you like make it. And then they'll say like they knew all along. Do you ever feel like you have to kind of defend your career or like the path that you've taken as opposed to like working in an office?
Oh man, that's a good question. I think I carry a self-imposed insecurity about what I do, but I feel like the people that are closest to me don't care at all. And that's like what I feel like has been really comforting and encouraging is fortunately my family and Rachel and my close friends. There's no sense of you're wasting your time going and doing or trying to do this songwriting thing. And so, but I definitely feel like I carry an insecurity in general because I didn't grow up around people that had unique jobs. I feel like almost everyone I knew and that everyone that was my parents' age had kind of a standard I don't know how to 9 to 5 I guess. And so there's still to this very day I feel sometimes like, oh man, is this like am I setting myself up like poorly, yada yada yada. Like there's all sorts of stuff, but I don't know. That's a really good question.
And who knows, maybe the answer is like still ongoing, but I remember I think you said something to that effect in when you were kind of sharing one of your most recent songs. And I also wanted to ask you if you in your mind feel like there's a point in your career that you've passed or maybe a point that you're striving for that'll make you feel like you've like made it as an artist. Like, is it, I mean, because for anyone listening that doesn't know, Nathan has over 10 million streams on Spotify. Like, people really like his music. So I just wanted to hear from you, like, is there any milestone in your mind where it's like, then I'll know, like, then I can say like, okay, I've arrived?
Oh man, I think really really sadly I don't think so. Like,
Oh, that's okay.
here's what I'd love to be able to say. I would love to be able to say like, yes, when I achieve X or like YZ, like yes, that's my goal, and I can and I will no longer strive more. But I don't know. It really confuses me because even right now where I am, and I talk with Rachel and I tell her all the time like, oh, I have so far to go. I'd love to whatever make a full living out of it. I'd love to collaborate with these people. I don't know. I'd love to get into different parts of the industry that I haven't been able to get into so far. And it's funny because I can look back and I go, oh man, but there was also a time when to just, I don't know, it could be a couple of things that have happened. I would go, man, I feel like I would just be so content. And
Yeah.
how could I ever want something more? Maybe to give somewhat of a concrete answer, there are little goals. They're not little goals, but like there are specific things that are dreams of mine. Like there are certain venues that I would love to play
Yeah.
at some point in time, whether that be I don't know, like hole in the wall venues around the country or big ones like Red Rocks
Heck yeah.
or like to play in the Ryman in Nashville. Like so there's those kind of things which are just large scale things that would be like, oh man, that would just be the coolest thing ever. On a smaller scale, I'd love, like, one thing I haven't hit is, it's come up a couple times, I don't mean it to, but I'd love to be able to have it be sustainable full time.
Yeah.
And so that's like kind of a goal of mine that I feels attainable, but also is also feels pretty distant.
Yeah.
But that's the golden question, man. I don't know. What do you think?
Oh, I don't know. I mean, I feel like there are probably two sides to that coin, right? On the one hand, like, it's probably a really healthy and like good thing that you feel like there's always something else to like strive for. Like, I think that probably is what drives you as an artist. Like, otherwise people wouldn't innovate and wouldn't like make better and better things. But I don't know. Yeah, I think like when I think about like the YouTube space, it's like thinking about being able to like quit all other side gigs, and be able to focus full time. So I definitely like relate to that, and I feel like I could pick your brain for a long time. We'll save it for another time, but just about like Patreon and like merch and like the varied kind of revenue streams that are available, because I feel like it's so fascinating, and not too many people like realize where income like can even come from as an artist. But I do want to dive into some experiences that I know you've had, and I would love for you to share many more that I don't know about yet. But one example, I remember pretty soon in your music career, you landed a headlining spot at the Jefferson Theater in Charlottesville, Virginia. And I remember you were like very humbly making jokes about like, we really need to sell out this venue, otherwise they're never going to ask me back. And like, it's fun that you're playing again, this coming spring. But tell me about that experience for you, like getting to headline a show at a sold out venue, in your hometown. I think it's amazing to see from the outside, but what was it like for you personally to experience that?
Oh man, it was a little bit of everything. It was really sweet. I'll start off with that. It was very special, and it was one of those things that I look back on and you kind of shake your head a little and you go, oh my gosh, that was where I would just go watch all of my favorite artists growing up. And so there was definitely this component of, oh man, this is pretty crazy. That's kind of on one side of things. It was also fun to be able to do it with my friends. Like there was a supporting band called Sputnik that was there, and a guy named Grant Frazier, and it was just like a fun. It was new for all of us, and we all kind of felt like fish out of water, and kind of felt like we had hacked the system, and it was like we had no business being there. That's kind of how I felt as well. That's how I still do feel. But like, that's one side of it. The other side of it is like, I remember it was such a special night and it was so fun and all my loved ones were there. But I'm telling you, I remember the show ended and I remember just being like, wait, is that it? Like, is that, I don't know. I think I expected a higher high than the one I got, and that's not to say that it wasn't special. I mean, I'm trying to do it again because it was a great evening. Yeah, and it's just to like share your music with people is so special. But I think that because of how much I had to hype it up on the front side and how much I kind of had to hustle to get things done behind the scenes and just everything, I remember really questioning, like afterwards I was like, was that worth it? Like, because it wasn't necessarily like I was feeling like on top of the world after it. So that was a unique feeling. I think that was the first time for me where I was genuinely surprised by that, because I hear about it all the time, like from whatever artists that play the Red Rocks and the Ryman, and you hear about how, like, I don't know, it's not everything. Like, and for me, in that particular moment in time, that gig was everything to me. And it was really, really special. I'm really glad I did it. And it was fun. But I remember going like that gig was done and nothing changed. Like, no one really came knocking on my door being like, oh my gosh, you like what's going on here? Like, you want to sign this deal, yada, yada. Like, there was none of that. So it was kind of funny. It just ended, and like every day after just look the exact same.
Yeah.
So,
well, to that point, I also wanted to ask, like, I mean, you've performed some like really incredible shows. Do people ever like want your autograph afterwards, or like want to take pictures with you? And what has that experience been like?
yeah, that's always really funny to me. It does happen only after shows, never in like
Never in the wild.
No, never in the wild. I think that's what's funny is like it's almost like for 1.5 hours, like a couple times a year, it's almost like there's this personality that to me feels like such a fraud, where people whatever want me to sign things and pictures and everything like that. But then the shows are done, and it's like, I don't know, I go walk out on the street and it's just nothing. It's like no one's recognizing me. I'm a small fish. So it is a very funny dynamic, but it does happen only at shows.
Okay, gotcha. Yeah, a friend of mine sent me a picture with you because she went to see your show in Charlotte. I don't know if you remember that, but had some fans.
I do. And I do love that component, by the way. Like it's very that's so fun for me.
Yeah.
I try and just enter into it because like it's funny to me. I don't know. It's like, what do you mean? Like that's how I would want to get I don't know, like some NFL player's autograph. Like not
sure.
me. Like and so but I love it. I love the pictures. I love the autographs when they happen.
Yeah.
But I think it's because it's so rare that I love it still. Maybe like in like big level fame, it would get annoying, but
sure,
I'm not there. So.
Yeah. I do want to ask you about, I remember seeing when you got to open for Johnny Swim and being really impressed that you landed that gig. And then I saw pretty recently, that you have writing credits for Bo Reinhardt on some of your most recent songs. And so just wanted to ask you, maybe starting with the Johnny Swim concert, like what has it been like to get to brush shoulders with people that have this like mainstream fame and popularity? And I don't know if you would consider those people like inspirations or heroes, but what has that been like for you to get a chance to like interact and work with those people?
Really, really encouraging. I think that they are my heroes, and they might not be the kind of whatever like A-level celebrities and stuff like that, but I think that I look up to a lot of people. I look up to a lot of people that to varying degrees of fame, and a lot. I particularly love when there's any sort of overlap between my art and then someone else's art who's inspired me. That's that's a really crazy thing, and it hasn't happened often, by the way. Only a couple times that I can really think of, but in those times it is special because so much of my insecurity day to day is like, oh man, am I a fraud? Am I crazy? Am I wasting my time? I mean, that is just this relentless voice that's always there. And I do feel like those rare moments are very encouraging because then you can kind of see like, no, I look up to that person and they believe in me as a writer or as an artist. And so yeah, I don't know. I mean, if Johnny Swim was just like kind of out of left field, that was someone that reached out to me with a connection there, and
wow.
I felt like super. It wasn't them, by the way. It wasn't Johnny Swim that like headhunted me, but
okay.
But nonetheless, it was still amazing. And when I was there, whatever, you get to hang and chat and see how they work and watch their show, and so.
Yeah, I don't know how this has worked, with the pandemic and everything, but has being in Nashville allowed you to like have more access to, I'm assuming like the production studios and things like that, but people that you might want to collaborate with?
Yes, and people here are really generous with that. I feel like people are really quick to get a cup of coffee. They're quick to get lunch and just kind of hear your story, and that's been something that's been really, really nice. And it's a relatively smaller town than I thought. I don't I don't know like the big shots and the big names in Nashville at all, but you're really only like, I don't know, like two or three friends away from kind of everyone, and that's what I love about Nashville. And so it feels very just like grounded, and you can see. I mean, I don't know. You go to the gym and you see different kind of writers and creatives and artists, and it's just kind of funny. And you hear rumor, you're like, oh yeah, like so and so saw Dan and Shay at the YMCA, and you're like, what? So
Yeah, has there been anyone that's left you like starstruck that you've run into or been able to see?
not really. I don't think I've seen any like the like star power names that are in Nashville that if I actually were to see, then I'd go, oh man, like
Yeah.
whoa, that's, I don't know, fill in the blank, big, that's big country star, Carrie Underwood or anything like that. I haven't had any of those examples, but you hear about it. I mean, like you have friends that just work at different stores, and it's like, oh yeah, Maren Morris came in today, and you're like, oh whoa, like that's funny. That hasn't quite happened to me yet.
Okay.
So no, not really. Not
Yeah.
really. But I'll also tell you this. I think like being around music, this is an interesting thing. I think I get more starstruck in other professions. So like if I were to see like an athlete or something, if I were to see Derrick Henry, then it's like, oh my gosh, that's Derrick Henry. But I don't know. For some reason, I feel like if I were to see another like artist that I know of, and maybe it's just because I'm still a junior level artist here, but you kind of, I don't know, it's just not as exciting as people might think. And so I feel like the athletes would get me a lot more when it comes to like starstruck fame.
Yeah.
So
Yeah. Well, I was
yeah.
trying to remember when you were a part of the Hullabahoos, you guys went to the White House, right? When you were
Yes, we did. That's
Okay.
a great example. I mean, now that's like, whew, I mean that's another level. So that's the kind of thing I would get did get really starstruck about. But
Gotcha.
yeah, I mean, I remember we sang. So we were at the White House, and it was like a Christmas event, and so as the different guests would come into the White House, we were kind of in our corner, just like singing our Christmas songs.
Okay.
And then towards the end of the event, they said, "Hey, follow us downstairs. You've been requested for like a special performance." And we're like, ooh, whatever. So like we were kind of picking up. We were like, oh my gosh, like it's gotta be for the president. And so
Yeah.
we go downstairs, and we wait in this room, and I forget what it was called. You could probably Google it, but we're all waiting in this room. And then they're like, all right, like sure enough, the president and first lady are gonna be coming in. You're gonna sing for him. And so I remember they walked in, and here's what I remember, and this could be different for everyone, but I actually remember being so starstruck by Michelle. As opposed to Barack. And I don't know what it was, but I feel like she was A, just beautiful, and then B, just like had the most powerful like presence in that room. And obviously Barack too, the leader of the free world, was pretty crazy. But they came around, and I don't know, they shook all of our hands, and
Wow.
it was crazy. And so that's probably like, I don't know who else is more famous, but I was definitely starstruck. I was like,
That's amazing.
This is crazy.
Do you remember what you sang?
Yeah, it was All I Want for Christmas Is You. Which, funny story, I actually so the way we did that song was a duet. And I actually had the other side of the duet, but they were like, you're only going to sing like X amount of the song, because like they've got things they got to do. And so my part wasn't in it, and I honestly am so thankful. So it was. I remember. I think it was Alex Fabian. He stepped up and sang and whatever. I wasn't even up there. I was just with the background. But I think I was a freshman first year, so I would have been really scared to do it. I'm glad I didn't get singled out. But
yeah. Well, I'd imagine like that situation is probably unique, but I also just wanted to ask if you in general get nervous performing, like that first show at the Jefferson, or have you kind of noticed a progression at all in how you feel on stage?
I always get nervous.
Okay.
Always, yeah. I think at least whenever I'm like the quote unquote headliner, I always just feel this pressure to I don't know, to entertain and to have like the people be happy that they spent their money on a ticket and like they gave up their evening to be there. And so I probably carry that weight a little bit too much, and it's tough sometimes to just enjoy the present. That might have been what happened, by the way, at the Jefferson I was talking about
Sure.
the last time, when I was like one of my goals this time around is to just enjoy it more. Just
Yeah.
like, whoever shows up. I don't need to sell out the place. It doesn't matter to me. It's like I want to have more fun because I don't want to miss out actually on the moment. Although I'd love to sell it out. But I've got a friend who says that if you're not nervous for it, like something's wrong. Like,
Yeah,
it kind of makes sense that nerves there.
It means you're invested to some degree, right? You care about the outcome.
Yeah, that's exactly what it is. And so, but the other thing too that I've noticed, and this is just for me. I can't speak for the artist that's tours kind of all year round and everything.
Mm-hmm.
But I get nervous. Even like it kind of doesn't really matter the scale of the gig. It's like a pretty similar feeling for me each time. I used to do a lot of weddings. Like I used to just play, I don't know, just either cocktail hours or ceremonies or whatever, first dances, and it was the same nerves for that as I get going on stage. Sometimes even more, probably actually, because I feel like it was like, I don't know, very significant moment. Don't mess up. Yeah, don't mess up that. But yeah, I don't know. I get pretty nervous. Yeah.
Okay. No, that's really fascinating to hear. Well, I want to ask you about any dream collaborations that you would want to have. So we'll start off with like within the music world, and then we'll kind of branch outside of that. So are there any people that you're like, man, it would be amazing to write with or perform with this person or get a chance to work with them in some way?
Oh man, yeah. There's a list that's like so long. That's like, oh man. I feel like I would have to. I mean, I gotta go to the legends right away. I feel like Coldplay.
Yeah.
I used to be so a lot of my kind of earlier music. It was like the most common. People would say, "Oh, you sound like Coldplay. You sound like Coldplay," and I hated it for so long because I love Coldplay and I was influenced by Coldplay, and like
Sure.
I just think the world of them. And now I can laugh at, and it's like, yeah, it sounds like Coldplay because like they're my inspiration. And
Yeah.
so I don't know. I love Chris Martin. I love the way he writes. I just love almost everything he does. So.
Yeah. A funny story about Coldplay, just real quick. I don't know if you remember, I like made one of those photo a day videos.
I do
when we were in
remember
college.
that.
Okay. So
Yeah.
it was to a Coldplay song. The song was Life in Technicolor 2. I titled the video My Life in Technicolor.
That blew up.
It did. Yeah. So I like picked the song because I thought, hey, I like this song. It talks about life. I'm going to be aging in the video. It's a good fit. But Coldplay was one of many bands I listened to. I think I might have owned like Milo Xyloto. Like I think I had one Coldplay album. But when that video got shared by like different news outlets and stuff, the headlines became like Coldplay superfan spends 5 years making like ultimate tribute to his favorite band. And so I was like,
good.
oh, I mean, like, yeah, I like enjoy them. I don't know if I'm like ready to be known as the Coldplay superfan though.
Right. So did you ever hear from them, or like did you get any, I don't know, did they ever like tweet at you or anything like that?
That was the one thing that they did. So they tweeted a link to the video and made a comment about like how I must have had like a bunch of t-shirts or something. And then I think on their Twitter, they like sign it with the initial of whoever's tweeting it. So it was like the admin, like the person that runs the administration for their social media. So I don't know for sure if anyone in the band actually ever saw the video.
Okay. Yeah, that's I remember that. That was an impressive video. That was very impressive.
Well, thank you. Yeah.
So
sorry,
I have a question for you. Are you, and maybe you can't disclose this, but are you working on any similar projects right now where you're just like gonna, I don't know, drop something like this has been whatever 10 years of XYZ?
Nothing to that extent. I started something. I've never shared this before, so this is exclusive. But I started something a couple years ago where I've been recording something on my birthday, like just the same video on my birthday, and I want to like cut it together in like 20 years or something.
That's cool.
So I was like 2 years in, and my hard drive crashed, and so fortunately I was able to like recover the videos that I needed for that. But yeah, nothing that's coming out anytime soon.
All right.
But I jumped in on you. You're talking about Coldplay, dream collaborations. Are there any others that would be like bucket list?
Yeah, I mean, I've always liked One Republic, Ryan Tedder. I like Beyonce, Adele. I mean, that's like, I kind of have to say them, but
right.
I don't know. I think they're just kind of legends. Let me try. That's like kind of a. Oh, you know who I'd love to write with? I love Foy Vance.
Oh, okay.
He's a singer-songwriter. I feel like I shouldn't mess this up, but he's either from Scotland or Ireland.
Okay.
And I just love his music. I think he's great, but he's like, I don't know. I think the world of the way he writes, and so yeah, I'd love to collaborate with him too. That'd be cool.
That's awesome.
One more musical person came to mind, and that's a producer, Labyrinth. Oh, I guess also an artist, but he's done all the music for Euphoria.
Oh wow, okay.
But he's also just like, I think he's the best producer in the world. So I think it would be really cool to work with him as well. That'd be dreamland.
What about outside of the music world? Do you have any just like celebrities that you would love to get a chance to just meet, get a picture with, anything like that? I know you mentioned athletes earlier.
Oh yeah. Yes, other celebrities that I'd love to meet, Zendaya.
Okay.
Yeah, she's my current celebrity crush.
Sure. Yeah, do you have a favorite movie or role that she's been in?
I wish she had a bigger role in Dune. I remember going to see Dune because I thought that she was going to be lead. She was in it for like 2.5 minutes at the end.
Okay.
But that's okay. But now I'm at the point where it's like, if she's in a movie, I'm going to watch it. I'm like, that's exactly like the value of like a big, I don't know, actor, actress, because they get people like me. Anyway.
I've asked, our previous guests this, and I just want to hear your perspective as well. What do you think that most people would kind of discover if they were to achieve the levels of fame that I think a lot of people kind of crave? Like, you've touched on this a little bit with your experiences, but if you had to guess, like, what do you think most people would find if they achieved or were around levels of stardom, like we've talked about, like the Maren Morrises and things like that? Do you feel like there would be elements that would kind of live up to the hype, or do you feel like maybe not so much?
I don't know. I've wondered that a lot myself. My guess, this is just a guess.
Mm-hmm.
But I feel like there got to be components of it that are cool at first.
Yeah.
And like, I feel like there's got to be some pretty exciting moments that are intertwined with fame. By the way, I would not consider myself famous at all. In fact, I would call myself like the worst kind of fame, which is like regional celebrity. And no one likes the regional celebrity. The regional celebrity like thinks they're a big shot, but they're not. So I feel like being famous, I mean, I don't know. I remember going to see Coldplay one time, and in massive stadium, and I was up in the nosebleeds, whatever, and I remember like having a conversation with my friends, like, do you think that he gets tired of this? Like, as crazy as it was, do you think he gets tired of it? And I bet he does. I mean, because I feel like it's probably like any other whatever dopamine spike you get. It's like awesome, and then it's like you have to maintain it somehow, and I feel like the more you do it, it wouldn't be as great the further you go along. But I don't know. And then also just from the artist side of things, I have personally been able to see just how much work goes into it. And it's just crazy. Like, I can't imagine how some people do it, because like, I'm a small fish. Like the amount of logistics and the amount of practice and work that goes into like my songs and my tours and everything like that, like, it's one thing, but I can't really imagine how some artists do it on a bigger scale, and the amount of emotional pressure it would take to like continually be vulnerable with so many people. I've wondered that. So I bet it's pretty tough. I've got a lot of. Oh, you know what? Do you by any chance listen to Armchair Expert with
yes,
Dax
occasionally.
Shepard? Okay, I feel like that's a great window into fame in general, and I like it because I feel like it develops, for me personally, compassion for the said famous person, because you just get to hear their story and you're like, oh man, like I genuinely am not sure that I would want that, like genuinely. And there's some examples where I would want it, but like I don't know. I think just the more you do a deeper dive on the fame, like the more it seems like it's just not all it's cracked up to be.
Sure.
But then again, maybe that's one of the things I want to learn the hard way. You know, like, it's like
Yeah.
It's like, all right, well, yeah, I'll talk about it in hindsight one day. But yeah, I don't know. That's a great question.
Yeah. Well,
what do you think?
I appreciate that perspective. I mean, I think I'd probably answer in a similar way to how you did. I feel like the people that are most grounded, that are famous, are the ones that kind of have either like a foundation outside of their fame, or like are very open about, like, I don't know, like things like counseling and like coming to terms with, like, you know, just general mental health. Because I think about someone like Steve Carell, and people talk about him becoming super famous in his 40s. Like, he kind of lived his whole life in probably, you know, like a regional celebrity role, where he like worked, I think, as a correspondent on The Daily Show and things like that. But he really achieved that fame like later in life. And so he's someone that I think about, people talk about him as being particularly grounded, and like it doesn't like get to his head, as far as I know, you know, never met him or anything. But I feel like that's the type of fame that seems most healthy and most like balanced, where I think, yeah, like people that are kind of skyrocketed to fame without other experiences can, like you said, maybe find themselves on this like treadmill of chasing that dopamine high, and then I'm assuming there's probably some degree of like crash to that when either it doesn't reach previous levels, or, you know, you can't feel the same level of that as maybe you did before, or thought that you would. So I don't know. Yeah, you'll have to let me know when you get up there.
Oh gosh, yeah, I don't know.
My hope for this show is that you know, I would love to be able to interview people at various levels in kind of the fame spectrum, and you know, hopefully eventually get the perspective of someone that, you know, might be really in that limelight and have kind of experienced that firsthand. But I do just want to shout out your music too. So, I mean, one of the first songs, I think the first song that I heard of yours that was fully produced was Charlottesville, which is still a banger, very good. And I don't know if I told you this, but I like was running a ton when I lived in Massachusetts and would just listen to like Silo as an album on repeat, and it was so good. I feel like there are songs that really like helped me pick up my pace, and still very much love that album. But do you want to just share a little bit about your most current project, Dream On Kid?
Sure. So, A, thank you. That was very kind. B, yeah. So I'm putting out a kind of pop-inspired EP at the end of March 25th, and basically, the project came about because I kind of always wanted to make a pop record, and so it was kind of like, all right, well, let's try and make it happen. And so I wrote just tons and tons and tons of songs, and kind of numbered it down to 6 that I thought would make good songs in that kind of energetic 80s drums, big synth, like different rhythmic stuff going on, like try which songs would kind of fit that groove the best, and so ended up picking 6, and that's what this project has become. And it was actually recorded almost a year ago now.
Wow.
And so it's been a long journey to said release date, but that's those are the songs that I will be touring in May as well. And then also there's a pretty exciting kind of back half of the narrative that's also going to happen after this project, and that is basically that every song will kind of have like a sibling version of it. So
oh wow,
yeah, so it's an interesting idea, but basically like these 6 songs are kind of produced on the poppier side, and then it's like, okay, well, what would happen if you took the exact same 6 songs and then recreated them in a different style? And
wow.
So yeah, so it's a pretty fun project. So right now, all of the kind of excitement and energy is around those first 6 songs, but then surprise, surprise, afterwards there'll be another 6 songs that we'll roll out afterwards. So
that's amazing. I'm super excited to give those a listen as well. A lot of people might not know this, and I feel like I don't even have like a super clear idea, but from the artist's perspective, from your perspective, like what is the most helpful way that people can support your music? Like, is it saving it to a playlist? Is it sharing it with other people? Like, are there things in your mind that are particularly helpful if people want to support you?
What I say to that is just kind of personal to me, because it means the most to me. I would just say, just go and enjoy the music. Like, so much work was put into it that I think that's like what I usually say. And then anything that kind of flows from that is awesome. There are tons of ways to help. Like, you can share the songs, you can save the songs to playlists and for the whole algorithm things. You can follow me on social media and Spotify, and you can go see a show, and you can buy merch when you're at the show, because like the artist gets the biggest percentage of that. And so there are like little ways to help all along the way. But I feel like my kind of simple answer to that is just like, go enjoy the music and go give it a listen, because like, to me, that's like means the most.
Heck yeah. Well,
Yeah.
no, I mean, it's really easy to enjoy it. And I feel like, especially with this most recent project, like it's feel good. Like the synth has these parts to it that I think really like lift up my mood. And so I'm excited for people maybe who haven't heard it to get a chance to listen to it as well. So I'll make sure to link all of your stuff in the description and the show notes. So for your tour coming up this spring, it'll be in May, right? So the stops are Charlotte, Greenville, Atlanta, DC, New York, and Charlottesville. Is that all of them?
That's correct. In that order.
Okay.
Yeah. So
amazing. Well, Nathan, thanks so much for taking the time to connect. I'm excited, to follow your career and to support you as you continue to make really great stuff. So thanks for your time.
Thank you, Sam. I appreciate it a lot. It's great to be on the show.
All right, man. Well, we'll talk to you soon. Thanks so much for tuning in for Don't Hate the Player, Hate the Fame. If you enjoyed the show and want to support it, you can like, comment, subscribe, leave a review, or send it to a friend. I'm putting links to Nathan's music as well as his tour dates down in the description below. And if you're listening on the audio-only version, you can find that information in the show notes. You can also find Nathan on Instagram at Nathan_Colberg. If you have connections to any famous or semi-famous people, you can let me know by reaching out via the email address in the description or the show notes. But that's it for this episode. We'll see you soon.